Admiral Picard clears his throat to straighten up a trill. The USS Titan has that new ship smell. And Captain Riker gets up to pee more now than his cadet days. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we're doing a review of Star Trek Picard, finally Season 3, Episode 1, entitled The Next Generation, written by, of course, Terry Matalas, directed by Doug Aarniokoski. And what a surprise, what a deal. We have Doug right here, right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Doug, how are you today?
I'm great, you guys. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Great to have you, man.
First things
what
first.
A great episode, right?
Yeah. First, I was like, oh, man, Cirroc's going to love this episode. And I'm so happy that we have the director of the episode, because so many of the things I was noticing that I loved were directional things. You know, the shot selection, the lighting was dark, the mood, all of these things. I don't know who's picking the music, but man, you really nailed it for us.
Thank you. Yeah, we went into season 3 knowing obviously where the world was going to go, where the story was going to take us. And, we made a very conscious decision to make it look as radically different, although staying within the world of Star Trek, of course, but, really making it a radically different show. We went with, I think, much more of a cinematic look. John Joffin was our cinematographer who came in to do season 3 with us. And he, basically got on board with this sort of darker, richer texture, something that we hadn't really done in 1 and 2. So having the ability and the sort of, blessing from Alex and Terry and Akiva to go that direction and to really give it that cinematic flair was really exciting for all of us.
Mm-hmm. And real quick, I just want to add, I'm so glad that you mentioned the cinematic flair, because in the first minute, my first thought was, this feels like a Next Generation movie. It feels like we just got the 5th Next Generation movie, just from the feel, the look, the mood, all of it. Really blown away by that. But I'm sorry, Cirroc, what were you going to say?
I have to agree. I did feel like I was watching a movie. And some of the things that made me feel like that was the amount of sets and different locations that you guys were in. It felt like this is way more than just being on the bridge on the Next Generation and just, watching corridors and ops. This is like a full experience. We got into the bar scene. We had, different ships that we were on. Tell me about like how many, locations and sets that you had for this episode.
Wow. Boy, that's a really good question. I mean, look, we went back to some tried and true locations like the Chateau, but the bar was all brand new, a lot of different sets, within the spaceships themselves. We revamped a lot of the corridors and the hallways. Our production designer, Dave Blast, did an amazing job. I mean, he really did. You would have thought that we started from scratch, right? And some of the stuff we did, but some of the stuff we repurposed. I mean, we are still a TV show, and there are constraints, and you can only do so much, and you don't have unlimited budgets, and yet you want to try to tell the biggest story that you can visually. But, Terry Matalas, you guys mentioned having it feel like, the next movie. I think that he and the writers really went into this with, we know this is the end, right? We know this is where the book is going to close, certainly this book. This is the last chapter. Let's make it a 10-hour movie. Like, let's just commit to it and let's just go full force. And everybody got on board. And that was the mentality. That was the mentality of the crew. Like I said, the cinematographer, the actors as they came in. So, we really stretched as much as we could. I mean, I can't tell you exactly how many different sets and locations unless we were sitting there watching it frame by frame, but quite a few, indeed.
And I'm sure you could tell me a million reasons why this is wrong, but it doesn't show that you had a TV budget. There are no moments in this, and this is a testament to the creativity that all of you have on that team, but it doesn't show that you didn't have a movie budget, a film budget. Everything, the exterior shots of, the cityscapes of the ships, the beautiful orange and blues of the LCARS paneling, Like just everything looked like a movie. There was at no point where it felt like it had a TV budget.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we certainly have a very healthy budget because of the type of show that we are and the size of the show that we are and the expectations, the visual effects. I mean, all of that certainly brings a very healthy budget to it. But it is still a television series, right? It is still a television show. But again, that is all on Terry. Terry Matalas just talked like a movie, walked like a movie, wrote like a movie. And everybody just followed suit. So I think that's really the reason. And, John Joffin and I, we were talking about how we were going to sort of break down the first episode, make it look different, give you a whole completely different palette than you had seen before. We kept saying, look, let's do less. Great. Like, let's not try to do as many shots as possible and really try to make it, cutting here and cut. Let's really orchestrate movement of camera, blocking of actors, and really try to give it, again, that sort of cinematic feel, that you're used to when you go to the movies. I mean, most of it. But, that's really how we sort of approached it. And, John is just such a master with light. I mean, there's the scene where Picard is in his study. I mean, I would be sitting there on set, and I literally said to him at one point, I go, it looks like The Godfather. Like, it's so rich. And the shafts of light coming through, like it's nothing like anything I've seen in the Star Trek world before. It was beautiful. You could freeze frame any one of those shots at any point in time and print it and put it on your wall. Like, it was a work of art. He was just...
I felt that. I felt the fireplace, when they're sitting in front of the fireplace, I'm thinking, is that a fireplace going? Like, is that a real fire going in the back? Because it just looks, and with the colors and all of the little decorations everywhere, the way the shot is framed, it feels really elegant. There's other things that you chose to do. For example, in the bunk bed scene with Picard, I really liked the shot that you had from the side. It was a soft light over Picard, but it was like a profile image, and I felt like it could have easily have been like a billboard or a poster for this show. But what are some of those kinds of decisions? Because I feel like when you do film Picard, you make some intention to pick up on the softness, but also the power. Is that through close-ups? Is it that through the lighting?
Well, I think it's a combination, really. I mean, when we're designing those shots, and listen, we storyboarded all these shots. We came in and put lenses to sets as much as we could and really tried to break down how we wanted to approach each scene. And, we keep saying the same thing. And it's something that Alex Kurtzman has said since day one when I worked with him back on Sleepy Hollow, right? And he's such a master storyteller. And he always says, what does this shot make me feel? What does this shot make me feel? And so we try to keep that really in the forefront of our minds and certainly in our lenses when we're deciding how we're going to frame it. The bunk bed scene is a perfect example. To us, to me, to Terry, to the writers, Picard and Riker are Butch and Sundance, right? And you want to see them together. And we knew that this was the last time that they were going to be together, telling those tales, fighting those fights, the camaraderie that they build and the backstories that they have had. And as it all comes full circle now, we wanted to make sure that we weren't just isolating moments between the two of them back and forth. We really wanted to give you as much of Picard and Riker as we could, right? Whether it's the bunk bed, whether it's two shots, whether it's, them in the shuttle, like we wanted you to be there with them and experience it with them. And of course you go into close-ups and, you need to touch those emotional moments and trigger the audience the way that, we feel that the script needs to go based on the shots that are selected. But as much as we could, and you'll see this throughout the entire season, it's really about seeing the group, right? The band is back together. So we don't want to just do close-ups of the drummer and close-ups of the guitar. We want to see them. That's the magic. And that's what I think everybody sort of fell in love with originally with Star Trek, was being with this group, being with this family, following them. And I think that the best way to service that, certainly, in episode 1, was to give you as much of the two of them together as we could to service the story.
We got more than I expected. As far as the two of them, because in season 1, it was basically one episode, Nepenthe, which I believe you directed as well.
I did, yeah.
That was a great one, very, very memorable.
The pizza scene.
That's
right?
the one.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
And then Riker comes in towards the end of the season, but basically, that's basically it for season 1. Whereas in this, almost from the word go, it's the two of them reunited, having different moments, sometimes, jostling each other a little bit. I don't remember specifically, but there was a little bit of playful nudging in there. And but also having each other's back.
It was a special moment. It was a special moment. And that moment you captured well. It was the moment where he tells Picard, he said, just give him one of those faces, those grumpy, kind of like, that face that you give. And he gives it to him, because he doesn't like what he's saying, but it's
rigid,
actually the
disapproving, sour expressions is what it was. Yeah.
Yes, that was it.
That's hilarious.
Or as I say,
and also because those moments are so nice because obviously, Patrick and Jonathan are such good friends and have spent so many years together that, him ribbing Patrick is Jonathan ribbing Patrick, although it's Riker ribbing Picard. But, their dynamic is not that different in the real world as it is as their Star Trek characters. When they put on those badges and those uniforms, I mean, they are those guys, right? And they don't deviate too far in terms of their friendship as to what you see on screen. And again, that's what makes it so endearing. I mean, that's why I think people love those characters, and that's why we try to lean into it so much.
Mm-hmm. And they also had each other's backs quite a bit. Like every time Picard was kind of getting slighted a little bit, Riker would jump in, at the one point. And by the way, we got to talk about this Shaw guy. Man, I don't know whose idea it was to cast that guy, but that guy killed it.
Well, I can give you one name, and that, of course, is Mr. Terry Matalas, who had worked with Todd.
He was very right
on 12 Monkeys. And, you'd have to ask Terry, but the way that the scripts were written and they were crafted for Shaw, I think he had him in mind from moment one when pen hit paper. I think that was in his head. So
unbelievable. He absolutely embodied. Like I was trying to picture it on the script, and you could see, it's well written. You could see what the character was, but this fellow, I don't remember his name, the actor that plays Captain Shaw.
Todd Stashwick, yeah.
Todd Stashwick, right. He just soaked up and spit out every single word of every single line. And you really did a great job of building that tension. And his delivery of just kind of dismissing them, retired, congrats for that. And Riker says, I'm a captain. He says, without a chair. But then Riker says, that's enough. And there's like a moment there where you're like, wow, this is getting a little heated here.
It does
just
get heated, but
great stuff.
Shaw doesn't want anything to do with these guys, right? He's on his way out. He wants to retire and play golf. Like, this is not what he said. No interest in this whatsoever. And all he's heard is the stories about these two characters. And he wants nothing to do. He's so dismissive of these guys. And it's, look, Todd, when you hear people say, oh, well, this actor elevated the material, right? The material was fantastic, but then you put it in his mouth and you let him embody it. I mean, really, you sit back and let Todd be Shaw, right? And you're fortunate enough to get the proper angles to allow him to become that character. And I mean, just wait.
Wow.
I cannot wait, because we talked about this before with Mark Alaimo and Gul Dukat. Mm-hmm. When somebody makes you hate them, or you just feel like, a feeling when they come on the screen, then they're doing their job to the nth degree. And, right away I was like, he must like jerk chicken with his Malbec. That was my note.
This guy's performance was jaw-dropping.
Exactly. I think when the fans and the audiences see him, he's instantly going to become like uber favorite new guy on
Yes.
Picard. Like, he's just that good.
I love it. Yeah, he's definitely got a whole lot going on. But the reunion, with these guys, that's really the sense. He starts off with Dr. Crusher, right? And we get to see her for the first time, and I do get the sense of like the making of the band. That's kind of the feeling that makes me so anticipate this season coming up. It's that I'm getting to see all of these guys come back together again. That's really what the audience wants to see.
We hope so. I mean, that's certainly what we were, striving towards, and I think we've succeeded quite well. And I look, from all the reviews and everybody that's talking about it so far early on, everybody's seeming to have the same feeling, which is great because, look, this is a love letter to the fans. I mean, this is as big a love letter as you can fit in your car and drive to the front of their house and hold over your head that says, "We love you. This is for you," right? I mean, it is. It is.
Oh, Doug, I want to give you also props too for the explosion scene with this weapon that was used in this towards the end of this first. Yeah, the way it occurred, the way it kind of crumbled back from the. I mean, it looks visually. I've never seen anything like it actually, and I was like, that's original, and it looked like some high tech type of futuristic weaponry. So I want to give you credit for the way you filmed that and the way you shot that, because it just came out sexy.
I'm glad you liked it. Well, listen, we have an insanely talented visual effects department who is headed up by Jason Zimmerman, who's been, on every Trek since the reboot, really. I mean, since Discovery, launched. And he's so collaborative. He's so smart. He's so just invested in all of the cinematic, realty as much as you can, put in a Star Trek TV series. But we were really happy with the way that came out.
The grab and drop looked amazing. What's that? The grab and drop. It's like the grab and drop. I will say though, you've also given the fans something, at least myself personally, something we've always wanted. Was that the Orion homeworld that we saw? Because I've had a huge fascination with the Orions, and not just the Syndicate, but just what's going on with these. That they've got this whole history fleshed out beyond, the dancing ladies and the pheromones and all that kind of stuff from the original series. And I believe there was the rumor going around, or it was confirmed, that we were going to see the Orion homeworld or something to that nature. But it was stunning. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And I had forgotten that this was said until we're there. And I was like, oh my God, this is the moment. This is the good stuff. And I'm hoping there's going to be more of that.
I'm glad you loved it. I mean, look, and again, I just keep going back to Terry, who is the biggest fan of all of us, and this was always his dream. And he wanted to bring these elements that we'd either heard about, barely seen, talked about. He wanted to bring as much of that to the audience as he could. I mean, again, he wanted to, build that perfect goodbye for the fans. And so I'm glad that you appreciated that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that said, that whole scene with Rafi, I like that scene. Yes. Give me Blade Runner vibes. I really enjoyed those vibes right there. I miss those kinds of suspicious behavior going on. That the whole Starfleet intelligence was good for me. But the other thing I didn't realize was the tension that I would see between Riker and 7 of 9, who's going by
Annika Hansen.
Commander. Yeah, right. And that's because of my ignorance of the backstory. But I'm watching. I'm like, I thought they were cool with each other. I thought there was anybody who's cool with Picard, I guess, but it seemed as though that they didn't really have that much history together.
Well, it's interesting too. We find her now in a very different position than we've ever seen her before, right?
Totally.
So,
she's got, quote unquote, a job to do, and here these guys come in with, let's face it, nothing but trouble on their sleeves. So you get into that, it's that yin and yang. It's that, she hasn't had much of a history with Riker, and I think she's concerned from the outset, of course, until things change a bit, and then
that was a great twist for us, because I was with you on that one. I was like, oh, Rafi, no, you didn't really. And then there's the twist, and we're like, all right, that's what I signed up for. You know, we're huge Michelle Hurd fans. The acting skill and who she is as a person, unbelievable.
She's incredible. She embraced being in this world and being a part of this culture, and became a huge fan favorite, I think, pretty instantaneously. But her passion just comes across. I mean, it does for me, certainly. I hope it does for everyone else. But you can just see how much she loves, playing Rafi and embodying Rafi and being a part of this world. And yeah, it's fun. And she's so incredibly talented. I mean, her range is just never ending. You can give her anything, right? And she's there. So yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. It's a lot of fun. It's hard not talking about all this specifics here. It's sort of talking in these broad generalities. But there's so much to come with, especially with her character, and where Seven goes, and my goodness, I wish everybody could just sit down and watch all 10 at the same time, because
let's do it.
It'll be a lot.
Not yet.
Well, eventually we'll be able to do it.
Yeah,
eventually. That's right.
And over and over again. But Doug, we're just about out of time, but we really appreciate you taking time out of your extremely busy day, from all the fan adulation and all the companies calling you saying they want you to direct their next film because of this. So thank you so much for taking the time and talking with us about this. We hope to see you again real soon too.
I hope so. And thank you for having me. I'm a huge fan, and I love this world. I love this universe, and I feel so blessed to be able to be on board as we send it off to its final journey. So thanks again for having me.
Fantastic.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
It's in good hands.
Looking forward to the next part of this.
Indeed.
All right, everybody at home, stick around. We will be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
And here we go. Picard, Season 3, Episode 1, The Next Generation. Great title. Here are the trivioids of the week. And they go a little something like this. Beverly Crusher sends a message to Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. Laris wants to have Picard's painting cleaned. Picard wants to sip Saurian brandy and think about writing his memoir. Beverly sends a codec message to Picard's comm badge. That was cool. Commander Riker thinks he and Picard are due for a good old-fashioned road trip. Rafi is a Starfleet intelligence officer. Picard is famous for his rigid, disapproving, sour expressions. Picard clears his throat to straighten up a trill. The USS Titan has that new ship smell. Captain Shaw loves his Malbec. Riker gets up to pee more now than his cadet days. And 7 of 9 disobeys orders. Old habits die hard. She does that a lot in Voyager.
Okay.
A lot.
All right.
So that was fun. I was like, same old 7.
Same old 7. There was a lot. Every time I hear Picard say Beverly, I think of you. It's impossible. Exactly. And so he had the moment in this episode. He had it too in this episode, which was great. I kind of laughed and chuckled to myself. But let me ask you, is Starfleet intelligence the same as Section 31, or is that something different?
So Starfleet intelligence is basically like military intelligence. It's the official governmental military intelligence agency. Section 31 is like they're not part of the Federation officially. They're just kind of like, they're like a dark cabal that's like doing their own thing with what they think are the best interests of Starfleet. So it's kind of like a scratch my back and I'll look away kind of situation there is what it seems. But Starfleet intelligence is, the official, spies of Starfleet, for example, like in our military. And Rafi, I was just really happy to see her. I was happy to see how great Michelle Hurd's acting is, doing basically 2 different characters in one episode, because she was very believable as she's fallen apart on her last nerve, and she was also very believable in like, all right, here we go, got my mission. Beautiful. Love seeing her.
Yeah, she did. She nailed that. And at first, I was really sad when I was like, "Damn, this is what happened to Rafi since the last time we saw her."
Yeah,
I was like, "This is not good. This is not good. What happened? How come nobody's looking out for her and making sure she's straight?" But then, all of that was just an act and part of her thing. So I felt a lot better about it.
And they did show a little bit.
It was possible that it could be that, right? Because based off of her previous story. Yeah,
exactly. And they also added a moment that let us know it's still possible, because it was hard for her to let go of that drug. If you'll notice, when she kind of paused, and that gives us, the viewer, the information that we need, which is it's still a struggle. And that's what addiction is. I mean, if you have somebody that's addicted to alcohol, even if they're sober for 5 years, if they're walking around carrying a bottle of gin and then they carry it around for 20 minutes and you say, okay, now throw it away, there might be that moment where it's a little difficult, and that was a great moment to see, and we're rooting for her, and we just hope that she doesn't say, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, stay strong, Rafi, we're rooting for you.
Yeah, because we know her past, and we know what she's had to overcome in her own life to kind of deal with, what she's gone through, especially with her kid and addiction. There was that history that they kind of went through on her backstory, and clearly she's fighting some demons, and being that close to something was scratching on that surface. So we pray for Rafi. I was really happy to see that that wasn't her real life, even though the temptation was there. It wasn't her real life, so I felt good about that. I thought I was going to see a little bit of Guinan, because they mentioned Guinan.
Yeah, I had to play it back. I was like, did they just say Guinan? I had to make sure.
Yeah, so I thought Guinan was going to be here, because they said, oh, Guinan's hawking souvenirs now.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were selling little miniature Enterprise D.
The fat Enterprise. Yeah, the Enterprise D. The fat D. They were making fun of it for that, because the E is a little bit more sleek. Like, that was the next one that they had in Nemesis. They had the Enterprise, or in all of the successive movies after Generations. But anyway, so they have the E, which is longer and sleeker, but the D is fat, according to them.
But nobody wants the D, huh?
I do. I love it. That's my favorite ship, besides the Defiant, which also starts with a D.
Okay. Yeah, no. Was that piece of artwork in the chateau? Was that something we had seen before, other than on this show, or is that a famous painting of the ship?
I don't remember it being on anything else, but it was just beautiful. It was just nice, and I liked seeing the artifacts on Picard's desk that were so good. There was like a Bajoran paperweight, or did you see there was like a giant Bajoran thing that was really cool?
Yeah.
Like, they had the Bajoran symbol. That was beautiful. There was an Enterprise model. There was his flute. His flute from The Inner Light, which is an episode of Next Generation. I don't remember, maybe season 5. But that is regarded by many to be like the best Star Trek episode ever. It's certainly in the running. So him holding up the flute, we know exactly what that is. It's really nice to see. But I did kind of wish, when Doug was talking about all the details that are going on in there, I wish we got like a little tour so we could see, because they've got other little hidden gems in there that you got to be super quick to catch, and all the nerds online are going to be like freeze framing and circling something, be like, look, that's the thing from. I was like, damn, I want to see what's going on in there. There's a lot of detail.
Yeah, I couldn't pick up on all of that. I thought that the painting was really cool. I was like, if there's something that I would want from this episode, it would be that painting. Actually, that would be something that I'd want to take away with me.
It's gorgeous.
It was gorgeous, and actually reminded me of one of the paintings I saw on the cruise. It was a little bit different, but it reminded me of that.
I also thought it was funny that Beverly Crusher kind of cracked me up the way she's like, well, I need help. And then she goes, I just put in my notes, I was like, it's pretty rude to ask an 80-year-old to only come for help by himself. Or, you know what I mean? Like, she's like calling an 80-something-year-old and she's like, come help me, but only you. He's like, dude, what do you think I am? I'm 80. I got to bring some people with me. Come on, cut me some slack here. That was kind of nice.
Yeah. But it was also clever the way they kind of did the whole riddle behind the whatever that 3 thing was. And he kind of used that to determine her location. I thought that was a nice little clever ad for the scene. Did I read right that explosion? Where did that take place? Like I wasn't quite sure what it was that exploded. Was that the Academy? Were they trying?
What it was they mentioned it. What was it? It was like Starfleet recruitment. I believe it was Starfleet recruitment, so like the Starfleet recruitment building or something like that, or headquarters. But that's what it was. And it was pretty crazy. Basically, the thing just crumbled down. I was just calling it the grab and drop, and just kind of like grabs it and then drops it onto itself, which was pretty destructive. You can't imagine anybody's going to survive that. Oh, something we forgot to mention. The Rachel Garrett statue dedication ceremony. The Red Lady, right? Rachel Garrett. This is so funny. I sound like a broken record, because also when Picard mentioned Locutus, when they said he was asleep, he was away as Locutus. That is from a 2-parter called The Best of Both Worlds, which was gigantic. It was like the end of season 3 to the beginning of season 4, something like that. 2 of the best episodes ever as well. But Rachel Garrett is also from one of the best episodes ever, Yesterday's Enterprise. And that one is one of my personal all-time favorites. And Rachel Garrett is one of my all-time personal favorite captains, even though she was only in 1 episode and only in a few scenes. But she was, I can't remember the actress's name, but she was, the lady that played her was so good and felt like a captain and felt like a good captain and a strong captain. So that I think that was a really good choice to honor her and bring that character up because of what she did with Lieutenant.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I had no idea what it was referring to. Rachel Garrett, who is that?
It's also a Tasha Yar episode. It's a 3rd season Tasha Yar episode. So look into that's going to be a fun one. That's the best. I think that's my favorite Guinan episode too. Like the episode that I enjoy her the most in that episode. It's a great episode.
So 2 things about this also that we got. We got Geordi works at the museum, and another LaForge works on the bridge of this ship with Captain Shaw, right?
Right. What was her name? Sydney LaForge. That's what it was. Sydney LaForge. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, we got a lot of non-appearance mentions. We got Geordi, of course. We got Guinan. We also got Kestra and Deanna. Sounds like there are going to be some problems with Deanna and Riker, because he said something to the effect of, they'll be happy with the time away from me or something like that. And I was like, come on, man. I liked Riker and Troy and Kestra. I thought they were great together.
Together, all of them? 3 of them?
Well, Kestra's their daughter, so, you know.
Oh, okay.
The bunny. Remember the bunny corn huntress in episode 7, Nepenthe?
Bunny corn huntress. Yeah.
Remember that she wanted to put bunny corn on the pizza or something like that. And then she was talking with some admiral. She was like texting with some old captain or admiral or something funny like that. That was a great episode.
Deanna from Kestra. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was this writing system something we've heard about before, or is this just a new thing?
I didn't recognize it, but I'm no Larry Nemeczek. Shout out to Larry Nemeczek, but I didn't recognize it. So maybe it's certainly possible, but I didn't recognize it. No.
And was the Neo Constitution class something we've heard of also, or is that a new
Constitution class? Yes, but so I guess it must just be refitted. These guys, by the way, I wanted to mention that to Doug. These guys clearly know that a lot of Star Trek fans are into that ship porn because they hooked it up. They told us what class it was. They gave us all these beauty shots of the exterior, beauty shots of the interior. At the end, over like the credits and the beautiful music, the Next Generation music going on like that, and they're showing the L cars. I was like, boy, you guys know what the nerds want, man.
Yeah, I did sense that too. I was like, they're giving it to us on this ship stuff. I liked it.
We also had La Sirena, which was Rios's ship, but no Rios. And I was kind of hoping that Rios's emergency, doctor and command and pilot and all that, I was hoping they would pop back up, and maybe they will later. That would be great, because then we could still see the actor that we love. What's his something Cabrera? Be great to have him back.
Yeah, I like Rios. I'm a little sad that he stayed behind, but I totally know why, bro. He did the right thing.
I know you remember that well, don't you?
Yeah, I know exactly why. He has every right to. This Captain Shaw guy, if we're going to get a whole lot more of him, he is definitely like captivating when you're watching this show. Your eyes are all over him, and he raises the stakes of the intensity and the kind of drama in the show that they need. Because everybody knows each other, gets along, and you need that extra little conflict and butting of heads. And I think he's a perfect element for that on this show.
And by the way, Rios is Santiago Cabrera. That's his name. I always think of Miguel, the baseball player, but so yeah, this Shaw captain, man, was he good. You used the right word there, I think, captivating. He just chews up every line. He gave me Jellicoe vibes. You'll find out about Captain Edward Jellicoe soon as well. One of the best captains ever. But this guy gave me Jellicoe vibes, but like less redeeming even to like the public. To me, I love it. I'm like in love with this guy. I'm like, yay, I love this jerk.
Yeah. The craziest thing when they walk in on that scene, and they're like, "Oh, dinner started already," and he says, "No, your reputation precedes you so much. I started early." What the hell? I think Riker looks like, what does that even mean? And it was basically, I feel like eating and I don't want to wait for you.
Yeah.
But it was so great.
He is the epitome of master of his domain. He's like, this is my ship. This is who I am. And the most important thing was he knew, yes, this is an admiral. Yes, this is a captain. But the way he put it, which lets you know exactly where he is, he says, I have orders from actual officers whose pay grade are far above all of ours. So he's letting them know, like, you're an admiral, but you're retired. You're a captain, but you're retired. I have my orders from actual officers. So not only do I not need to take your orders, I'm not supposed to. So he could just shove them off, and he's completely in the right to do so. That's why he feels like he could just be a dick about it. But then after that, he says, so request denied. And what was perfect about that line is he made sure they know this was a request. This was not an order, that you made a request, and I am denying it. That is perfect writing, I think.
No, the extra perfect writing part was when he says, I hope you'll enjoy your quarters. And then you see them on bunk beds.
That was such a great choice, wasn't it?
Dude, I was like, really? He gave him bunk beds? This guy. That's
Two old men
that's the
talking about
ultimate
peeing.
yeah, that's the ultimate disrespect to give an admiral and a captain a top and bottom bunk bed, like they're in camp or something.
Such a smart choice.
It was so good, and he just put that was the cherry on the top for me. Just that extra little, I hope the accommodations won't be, will do you right. So that was great for me. But he was also a super jerk. So, take it how you want. I also felt bad for 7 of 9. I'm like, you got to work with this guy. That's why she's like, you know what? I'm ready to do whatever. Whatever mutiny it takes, I don't care. You see who I'm working with.
Yeah, she's
like, I'll go back forward.
She's always been very rigid and not very easy to work with in the past. And she found somebody that's even worse than her. So you can imagine that she's just like, but also she's evolved over the last 20 years, or whatever it is. So she's softened and now she's dealing with this guy who's like top level. But as an admiral, that might be the kind of captain you want working below you, is somebody that you like, you never have to worry about. He's got his crew completely under control. They might not like him, but everything's clean, spotless, ship shape, on time, whatever. That's Captain Shaw. He runs a tight ship.
Yeah, he does. He said you can run your finger across all the consoles.
Yep.
Nothing wrong
dust
here, buddy.
Beautiful.
No dust. Also, like, it was a small moment, but it's just a little touch of detail. But when Picard and Riker come onto the ship, they get the kind of salute that you would normally get with a bugle.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a cute little Star Trek type of whistly thing.
They do that on a few episodes. That little boo.
Yeah. I like that touch. I was like, oh, that's cool. I want one of those. Gotta find me one of those little whistly thing.
That'd be great. Start every episode with that.
Exactly.
That's what we should do. Exactly. We do have to run, but before we do, that's what we should do when we give our special thanks. We should go boo. Special thanks to Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arukin, Titus Muller, Darlena Marie, Dr. Muhammad Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anna Post, Rex A. Wood, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, live from Tokyo, the enigma known as Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Henry Unger, Jed Thompson, Amy Renee Haynes, Sean Mouch, Marcia Classic Schreier, Randy Frank, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner and Jason Okun. Great. Well, this was a lot of fun. I can't wait for 9 more of these. I feel like we could talk about this forever, but we shan't. Great stuff.
Well, until the second half, yeah. I mean, the story has yet to unfold, so there's more to come.
Looking forward to it. All right, and everybody at home, let us know what you thought of this episode. And give us your theories. What do you think is going to happen? Because we all got a bunch. And we'll see you next week. And until then, thanks for joining us. And always remember the 7th rule.